You ever notice when historians talk about the early Methodist movement, they talk about it as this big social change movement at a time when British culture was rather immobile. It's weird, isn't it, that at a time when people's influence on governmental policy, for example, were slight, very minimal in most of the time, that suddenly these Methodists thought they could change everything. They were never a majority movement, they were a minority of a minority movement in England, in the USA. I mean, ultimately, it was kind of nutty for Methodists to think, well, they can just change everything. But what it was Wesley and his early followers had read the biblical prophets the way they were actually meant to be read, which is as challenges to the status quo, as calling us to respond to God's word by doing better as a community. And therefore each of us had a job, which was to make the community better. So off the Methodist movement went against slavery and against, the ravages of alcoholism. And I mean, there were so many themes that the Methodist Church took up all the way into the 1900s. It was the Methodist groups that were supporting the development of unions and women's rights and you name it what. And the civil rights movement would have been completely different without Methodists, because instead of being passive, well, I wonder when Armageddon will happen, the approach was consistent with the biblical prophets, and that is, what can we do to stave off an Armageddon? Well, an awful lot of Armageddons are running around us, and with each of them, with prayer and work and community action and organizing and great church life and voting and advocacy and serving, we can make a change. We can make a million changes. From everything from climate change all the way to the COVID response that's failed from our national level. Folks, we can do this. We are the ones who choose not to get to Armageddon. God bless you each. Your love first.